It's like the SMSL SU-X in standard mode is like a German officer yelling at you. This is the music and you will like it. I love DACs, and this is a DAC, and it's a very heavy DAC at that, which usually means it's a good DAC. If you've been into this hobby for a while and you're on a budget, you probably know about products from SMSL and Topping. They were two of the original companies that came out with affordable DACs, and it was kind of a revelation for people because you could get a $100, $150 DAC, or in some cases, an $80 DAC that was really good, and it really took your digital music to the next level. Because for me, I think companies that have more expensive lines, it's easier for them to go down market than it is for a company that has mostly affordable products to go up market. I'm comparing the SMSL SU-X to the Denafreps Aries 12th. And also, the Gishelli Labs Daisy, which comes in at $1,300. See how the SMSL does. On the back here, you have an IEC power connection with a master power switch. You have a USB input, a regular printer style cable input, and then you have a USB-C input, optical input, coaxial input next to it, an I2S input, Bluetooth, an AES input, and then you have both balanced and single-ended outputs. It's gonna be kind of fun listening to a bunch of digital music today because last night I was listening to the Michelle Techno deck with a gold ring cartridge on it. It was awesome. It was a bit of a Korn night for me on vinyl. I watched a brilliant, if you don't know the Punk Rock MBA, you need to go check out his channel. If you're at all into kind of the history behind bands, the cultural significance, the musical significance of certain bands, I rewatched his video on Korn, which I love. I don't care if you like Korn or not. I'm actually going to link that video because it was a brilliant video. If you don't know about the Punk Rock MBA, you need to go subscribe and watch the Punk Rock MBA. First complaint I have about the SU-X from SMSL. At $1,000, you get the same remote control as you would get from a $200 DAC. If you're gonna sell a DAC, in my opinion, for $1,000, get a better remote control. Does that really matter? Maybe not, because the other two DACs I'm comparing it to don't have a remote control, don't have a variable output, and a variable output just means that you can control volume. So the one thing that the SMSL can do that the Daisy from Gishelli Labs can't do, that the Aries from Denafreps can't do, is control volume. But I still think they need a better remote control. With the controls, you can obviously control it from the remote control, but you also have a multi-function wheel right here. Click it, you get into an actually pretty usable menu. So I have this in fixed output, so I am not controlling volume. Have your inputs right here. I'm running optical. Outputs right here. You can have them all running at the same time. You have some PCM filters to choose from. I'm going to turn that off. You have DSD stuff. Then you have some sound profiles, which is pretty Cool. 10 different sound profiles. Then you have your DPLL setting, which has to do with jitter. I'd say this is a half rack component. So this is a regular component. This is the size of the SMSL and the Denafrips. About the same size. Daisy is bigger down there. Little Faith No More. War Pigs cover. I love that song. All right, let's talk about what's under the hood. If you care what's under the hood. XMOS XU316 processor. Okay, great. 2 new Sabre chips that has the ES9039MS Pro. So 2 of them, which reduces crosstalk. It says right here they have 2 linear power supplies, 21 high-end dual op amps, and a large number of hi-fi components. It says it right here, large number of hi-fi components. Brand new, self-developed, that's cool, CK03 clock processing circuit greatly reduces clock jitter. There you go. So there's a big piece of offset black glass with a display that's small. All right, 2 minutes, 40 seconds into Eulogy by Tool. On the standard sound profile, it is almost unlistenable. It is so grainy on top. The cymbal hits feel so harsh. I mean, harsh on harsh on harsh. I don't think it's sibilant, which is sh and ch. It's so spicy, though, that I can't tell any type of detail coming from the cymbals. I have got to change this. I'm going to try the rich profile number 1, and then I'm going to try the tube profile number 1. We haven't even got to the comparisons yet. Well, that didn't work. I don't know if you can hear this, but this is what it sounds like in rich number 3. And since I don't want to blow up those speakers, I'm going to take it off rich number 3 sound profile. Not looking good, SMSL. We are on tube number 1. This is real time because this video just got really interesting. All right, tube 1. Nope. Perfect. This is a fun review. There's something up. I'm going to power cycle this thing. I did a factory reset and then I powered it on and off again. Let's see what it sounds like. And we're in standard, so we don't have any fancy sound effects going on. At least it's working now. So we're going to say, you know what? I'm going to try it one more time. I'm going to put it into rich 3. So this is what it sounds like now. So it's working. It's working. Rich 3. Here we go. It's working this time without distortion. And that brought up the bass quite a bit, which isn't really the problem here. I have plenty of bass. This amplifier is killer. The Emotivas put out a lot of bass already. I wanted to tame down the top end. Okay, it does. Okay, so Rich 3 is better than standard as far as what my setup is here, which is kind of a cool feature. If you can get it not to distort and destroy your speakers when you're switching through the different sound effects profiles. At this point, how do I finish the review? Because do I leave it on Rich 3? I'm going to leave it on standard. All right, so I'll leave it on standard. I'm going to compare it to the other DACs. Does that sound like a plan? I'm having some fun here, and I changed it to tube 1. Actually, I can't even see across the room what sound signature or sound effect that I'm in because the display is so small, which is kind of fun because you just scroll through them and click on them, and then whichever one you like, then I went and looked at it. The one that I liked the best, tube 1. It really did give a little bit of more ethereal feel to it. The sound did get bigger and spacier. So if you can get it to work, it's actually kind of fun. At any type of volume, the standard setting is just way too edgy. On probably anything above 3K. Really, even in the upper mid-range, it really shoves things forward. Let's compare some other DACs. All right, that's working. One thing I will say is at the 45, 46 second mark, there's a tring on one of the cymbals, and it had perfect timbre, perfect realism, perfect tone on the Denafrips. More spacious, more organic, more analog sounding than the SUX in standard mode. At 2 minutes 46 seconds, that's when the song really comes to life and there is a lot going on in the upper mid-range and treble. What I will say about the Denafrips Aries 12th compared to the SMSL SUX, it is controlling the top end a lot better. This track is a little bit intense, 246 and on. Denafrips also seems like it has a warmer bottom end, where the SUX was just hitting you with it. The Denafrips almost seems like it has less control, but the bass is actually more pleasant to listen to. It's like the SMSL SUX in standard mode is like a German officer yelling at you, "This is the music and you like it!" Once again, if anybody says that DACs don't make a difference in how the music sounds in your system, they are absolutely insane, because I have 3 different DACs here. They sound very different. The Daisy, of course, sounds the best. It is the perfect combination of clarity with an analog sound, with separation, and is providing a very deep, meaningful, large, crazy soundstage without some type of digital trickery. You can get a little bit of that on the SMSL SUX, but you have to put it into tube mode, which DSP is great. It's the wave of the future. But you just have a DAC here with the Daisy, and it's doing everything right. It's giving you analog sound, it's giving you clarity, it's giving you full bass without feeling like it's artificially inflated. Daisy's really good. The Denafrips Aries 12th is really good. A little bit more laid back than the Daisy. All right, this is an easy video. What are my final thoughts? Final thoughts on the SMSL SUX. SMSL needs to stay in their lane. This is $1,000. There is a lot of functionality. There's a lot of new components in it. However, SMSL should stick to making the best $300 or $400 DAC that they can. The Denafrips Aries 12th walks all over it. The Daisy from Geshelli Labs absolutely destroys the SMSL SUX. To me, this is like getting... Okay, so I got a story for you. When I was in the Navy, it had to have been 1999, 2000-ish. I needed a new car, so we bought a Hyundai Accent. The whole car, not part of the car, the whole car was about $10,000 or $11,000, brand new. It was a standard, so it had a 5-speed, it had air conditioning, and it had roll up and roll down windows. It was everything that I needed. Even then, it got 38 miles to the gallon. It was a no-frills car that got me where I needed to go. It was $11,000. I knew what to expect with that car. In its simplest form, this was a piece of machinery that was going to get me from point A to point B. Hyundai makes very expensive cars now, and I think, relatively speaking, they're quite good even at their price point. My impression of Hyundai is that they make $11,000 cars. In my brain, Hyundai will always be a cheap car. In most people's brains, SMSL is going to be a cheap DAC. It is very capable, but when we get to $1,000 on a DAC, do we want options? I don't. I don't want an option. I don't want variable output. I don't want volume control. I want a DAC that I put in and it has its own signature, and that's it. And that's what you get with the Daisy, and that's what you get with the Denafrips Aries 12. But if I'm going to be messing around with DSP, I want to be doing it in Roon. I want to be doing it in the streamer itself. Don't want to be doing it in the DAC. The SMSL SUX is not a good DAC in the standard sound profile. It's harsh. The top end feels like white noise piped in at the right frequency at the right time. There's no organic feel to the music. It does not sound analog. Last night I was listening to a bunch of vinyl. There was pops and there was clicks, but one thing it had was this rich, robust sound. I did not get that from the SMSL. Even when I was messing around with rich 1, 2, 3 tone profiles, the Tube 1 did sound pretty good. Sounded pretty good. It pulled down that harshness on the top end a little bit and gave you sense of space. But at $1,000, I think this has a bit of an identity crisis. I think it's trying to be all things to all people, and it kind of fails at doing any of it well. The display is tiny. The remote control is the same 50-cent remote control that you get on other products. The build quality is good. I think they've got good linear power supplies inside. It's got some heft in it. But even if you have a great power supply, but it sounds like this, what's the point? This literally reminds me of the entry level SMSL and topping products from 3 years ago in standard mode. It's so harsh. It's so in your face. I don't like this product at all. It's got very similar functionality to their $300-$400 DACs, and that's what I would get. I would rather listen to the $80 SU1 from SMSL than the $1,000 SUX from SMSL. I think this is a bit of a disaster. I don't care how well it measures. It doesn't sound good on this system. In standard mode. Tube, it's okay. Yowza! Sorry, SUX, but you gotta stay in your lane. If you liked this video, then you really should check out the video I just did on the Geshelli Labs Daisy. Now that is a DAC.